Yes, greetings and the best of salutations. What I'm finding out is this wise is when I say that society is under a social reconstruction, whereas our feelings are becoming desensitized, our thoughts demoralized, our attitude dehumanized, and our communication devitalized, and our activity are becoming destabilized. And for me, everything is social because social stress leads to mental pain, and mental pain leads to physical harm when it comes to the development of one's intellect for the betterment of humanity. Yes, you can tell the psychology of one's mentality by what he or she produces. Or you can tell as I said it the other way, the psychology of one's mentality or the mentality of one's psychology by what he or she produces. Uh, Psychology, of course, the ology is the study of is a psyche, psycho, uh, psycho, associated with the soul, the bar, the uh, the essence of our being. The yes, and it also has something to do with the framework, framework, and it's like you put a picture that's in a frame, and you put a picture in your frame. You look at it. You, it has something to do with not. You look at a cat. You can come up with a term called uh, category because you look at a cat. Because children learn in picture form, and picture form becomes a meaning, and meaning becomes an emotion, and is acted upon. It is called incongrathics. Once you destroy an image of a people, they will communicate that destruction. Yes. So we know that history proves that when Alexander went to what they call the Egypt, he told his generals to marry the women, and women have children, and they start taking on the feelings or the attitude and the sentiments of the conquerors. And therefore, you start to become more desensitized in relating with yourself. You take on a new form, uh, a new identity, and a new meaning, and therefore it deals with the image, and that is the psychosocial uh, effect of when it comes to the psychology of adjusting to the dominant image, that which you see on a daily basis. You think that is the image that which you want to project, and that which you gravitate to is also associated with culture hegemony, saying this is the image that I'm going to give to the world. Then when you deal with culture, you have to deal with agriculture. Prior to that, the rain falls from the sky, and it produces a crop. It must be a God somewhere. So what I'm saying that in this wise is under the social reconstruction of the social uh, well-being. That which is you become, and our relationships one with another become, very, it's like irrelevant, becoming very irrelevant, and the mind at its best is to be productive, and the brain cells is constructed to think correctly. So we becoming, like once again, very irrelevant when it is destroying the social um, relationships one with another. And at one time, there was a point in our lives. I know history of is beyond America. We know that planet Earth is a sociological structure. Um, Whereas that 1,000 species, they just interact with one another. They don't interact outside their species, and birds interact with birds, and fish, interact with fish. Even though some fish, they interact in their area, which is the water, the water, the fish, and the birds there in the air. But certain birds don't interact with other birds. So there is a call for separation, But my point is that the irrelevancy of that is not related to, when it comes to that which we are uh, not related to the subject, or that which we are subjected to, because that which we subjected to, we worship, and we give it power over us. Uh, Anything that is outside of us, and we give it power to over us, that's very mysterious, very mysterious. Fact about it is kind of foreign, kind of alien. Yes. So if you look at um, the family structure, mainly if you look at the African American family structure, if you look at any family structure, period, when it comes to, but if you deal with it in this wise, of the what they call the breadwinners, and you got developed skills, to provide for your family, because we're talking about stability too. We see this here is that that the if the women make more than the men, then therefore, they can't relate to you. Then you become very irrelevant, and then they will find relevance and maybe something outside of themselves, and it could be their a career. That's fine. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be prostitution. And I'm not just saying this because it's a woman, but and then we look at the selling of the drugs that is in the community. Then therefore one will use the drugs, the prostitute, to get the women, because you know that they see that their ethics are becoming very moral and ethics are becoming very irrelevant. There is nothing too much sacred anymore. So, and even establishing healthy and whole relationships one with another is becoming very irrelevant. In this technology age, that we're forming more relationships with the technology rather than forming relationships with human beings one with another. So we're becoming very irrelevant to a point now where it's that robots are coming in and trying to take the place of humans. So we're becoming very, very irrelevant, like being becoming instinct when it comes to morals, comes to ethics, and it comes to sacredcy, as a family, as a human family. And even when some of these sites, the dating sites, you have to go through a certain channel to interact with someone, those who participate in that, which means that something is coming between, like a medium of exchange. The use of money. Something is controlling the money, which means you're becoming irrelevant, and at the expense of someone else becoming more relevant than you. So it constantly put us at odds with one another, and we're constantly being more and more, as I say, societies under social reconstruction. We're becoming more and more, in a subtle way, more and more desensitized, which means we're becoming more numb, we're becoming more hostile, we're becoming more angry, we're becoming more violent, and we're becoming more suspicious of each other, um, due to one's own wrongdoing, and then we say that someone is going to punish us when we just really people are really punishing themselves. So we dealing with this as I call it, emotional displacement, and unable to deal with one's emotions and due to the pain that one had been through in life, and it's hard to reach out to someone whom we deem to be that is uh, uh, because we haven't seen a model. I mean, some have not seen a pure healthy model when it comes to social relations, establishing social relations one with another, you know. And it has become very challenging in the society in which we live. But this feelings is of irrelevancy, and then you deal with the also we know that factory workers, and this also deals with the socialization aspect. Um, at one time, when you used to the person who produced the product, they directly benefit from it, and now factories come in and people are someone comes in and comes in between of the work that you have done and constantly pushing you out the door, pushing you aside. You're becoming very irrelevant. And then the money that you make, and at a certain wage, at a low wage, you're becoming very irrelevant, only being viewed as a commodity. That's why Dr. King really said we must move from a thing-orientated society to a people-orientated society. So it's in the orientation. The orientation it seems as though the mental orientation, the social orientation, the emotional orientation, um, and even in the physical orientation, if I may, it's like you are irrelevant. You are a laborer. You are here to labor on our behalf, that we will extract the goods for you and will reward you what we think that we should give you. And they have the nerve to call it a minimum wage. We will give you the minimum because we have minimized you and reduced you to say you are irrelevant, but we determine your relevance. And we have to deal with the skill set, the trade schools, and on how they um, you got to deal with Booker T. Washington. He said you got to learn a trade that makes us relevant. And now we're dealing with it. And you get into the education, like most, maybe some men don't want to go see doctors because they don't see that is relevant, because they have, under the relationship that they have with, from a historical context, they have been treated a certain way. So then, therefore, there is a distrust there. You are expendable. You are expendable. So it's almost to a sense that we're fighting against each other when it comes to the totality of our well-being and our human relationships one with another, and our human relationships one with another is becoming very irrelevant. Our interacting one with another is becoming very relevant. We have something in the society now called social distance. That is another means and a manner way of saying that we're becoming irrelevant in our social interacting one with another. It feels as though that we're really being pimped and being prostituted. So then, therefore, there is academically as well. So it is very challenging in the society in which we live, um, when it sees what is unfolding right before our very eyes, in a sense of finding relevancy, finding significance, finding importance, and finding belongings, because that which you belong to is that which gives you the strength. But that strength is not a mystery. It is not something that is outside of you. It is something that is in you, and it's something that is created in you, and it's something that has created you, and that which has been created in each and every one of us is the seed of potential. And there's the potential to rise above the function of this material world. And the purpose is to move from sympathy to empathy. And when you move from sympathy to empathy, you know that we must deal with a spirit of apathy. So I say this: let us continue to fight to become relevant, valued in our social relationships one with another, not at the expense of prostituting one another in a immoral and unethical way, in using these devices, technology, or these using drugs or whatever, to say that you are relevant at the expense of me exploiting you, not building up your morale, but to a point where it's that you become weak at the expense of another person being strong, being used and abused, being used and abused. So yes, let us continue to find relevancy in an ethical and a moral way. And may we continue to realize that that we belong because we are here. And be careful that during this situation that people are in this country, where there is this social distancing, that you don't become a victim of mental suicide, emotional homicide, and spiritual genocide, cutting through the life force of who we are as valued human beings, ethically and morally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, as well as physically. In the words of Sly and the Family Stone, remember, everybody is a star. Let us go beyond race, class, gender, religion, economics, education, and politics. And be mindful that those who have the influence, who are affluent and can influence and may have the wealth, but don't let your wealth deceive you and spoil you, whereas that you think that you are more relevant at the expense of playing the game, of putting people in a position, or people developing the attitude that they feel irrelevant, isolated, all alone. Uhuru Sasa, freedom now. And may we not put ourselves in that position as individual in our choices and our decisions, that we feel isolated, irrelevant, all alone. Let us continue to work, to build, to establish the human person for the betterment of humanity. Talk to you.